Welcome back to ARC Tutorials, and this is Testing Concept Series. In today's episode, we are going to learn all about security testing. I have covered a lot of topics right from basic beginner concepts to advanced in this particular playlist. Make sure that you check out all the episodes so that you learn all the concepts end to end. Following is the playlist that is on your screen. Today we are on episode number 24, learning about security testing. So let's start with some of the basic things about this. So the first and foremost question that comes in our mind is what exactly is security testing? Security testing is a type of testing that is focused on identifying vulnerabilities and weakness in any software application or a system. It's an important part of the development process because, as the name suggests, it helps us keeping the system or the software secure and protects our secure sensitive data. Security testing is performed typically by a separate independent specialized team who are experts in using certain tools and techniques to identify and assess any potential vulnerabilities. The vulnerabilities can be of different types, like it can be a system attack, it can be data leak, etc. So it's an important testing to ensure that the overall system is well, safe, and protected. Now, what are the different types of security testing that are done? These are some of the different types, which again forms the sub categories of sub security testing. But having said that, there are many other. These are not only just four, but there can be different types that are performed by specialized teams. Penetration testing is one of them, where we assess the system and see that when we try to simulate an attack on a particular system or a software and check how potential a hacker or a real data theft can be done. Vulnerability is exposing any vulnerabilities that are there in the system and when we are trying to exploit them. Security audit checks are usually performed as part of the security measures and best practices. This is to identify areas where we need improvements or enable any more security or data logging or data protection, authentication, multi-factor login, authentication, etc. Application security testing. Now this involves both system hardware as well as software where you have SQL injections, you can have different malware that can be introduced, etc. Now, why is security testing important? Of course, by the name itself, it says that it's extremely important. But more foremost important thing is to protect the user's sensitive data. The data can be of different types like financial information, personal information, information, etc., which are very critical and should be protected at all cost. Security testing is also an important measure from compliance perspective. If you talk about any insurance application, banking application, healthcare, or any application in general needs to comply to certain industry standards and regulations. Like there are certain design patterns, there are certain security standards that needs to be maintained. Also, if you look at that, any security breach can result in customer trust, and in result, if you're a large enterprise or a corporation, data leak or a security breach can cost a company its life. So, hence, it's very, very important. Of course, there are cyber attacks, which can be both software wise, it can be malware, many different types of attacks that can be potential vulnerabilities can be um, exploited, right? So those needs to be protected, and that's why overall security testing is extremely important. Now, what are some of the tools that are used by these specialized teams which try to safeguard our applications? So there is a burp suite, right? It's an integrated platform for performing security testing of all web applications. Then there is Metasploit. That is again a framework for developing and executing exploit code against a target application. These are all again simulations, not exact replication of what could be. It could be dangerous, but these tools and applications definitely helps in identifying those gaps. The next is Nessus. Then we have Qualsys, we have Nmap, and Zap, which is Z attack proxy. It's an open source web application security scanning. So Nmap helps us in network discovery and security auditing. So these are all the different tools which gives us reports, which gives us the potential code that can cause problems or at the network side. So these are the some of the tools that are used by the security testing teams. Now, what are the usual outcome of security testing? The outcomes are identifying any potential gaps, vulnerabilities that needs to be fixed, like um, outdated software version, weak passwords, or leaked insecure configurations, etc. The security testing team also provides us with recommendations and best practices of how to fix any bad code or any vulnerability gaps. Overall, the expectation of the outcome of security testing is to give us a confidence that our system is ready, is compliant, has all the potential fixes in place in order to govern and to control the data that goes out or comes inside the system. Let's talk about some of the disadvantages. So there are few disadvantages as well, like cost. Of course, the security softwares we talked about, tools we talked about, or the consultants that we bring in, they are little expensive. It's time consuming process. Some certain times the code that they raise alarms against could be a false positive, which means that not necessarily it will lead to any vulnerability, but those are all the best practices. Now, with all the best practices that they recommend, it will involve again development effort, QA effort. So all those needs to be calculated in terms of scope, time, and effort. So that being said, not all issues can be really covered as part of security testing, because these are all at the end of the day simulations. But having said that, some underlying issues may be left open. That's one of the disadvantage. But having said that, we definitely need to have this in place. That's all about security testing that you should know as part of the concept series. I hope you find this tutorial useful. In the next episode, we will learn what is ad hoc testing, why is it important, what are some of the outcomes, what are some of the tools that we use. I hope you're liking this series. Please join me in the next episode. If you like my work and tutorials, please do consider buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/arctutorials. Thank you so much for joining. See you in the next episode.